morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Today I want to talk about spleen P, which is your digestive apparatus, essentially. P, of course, is Mandarin for spleen, which is maybe means pancreas, but really it means your digestive apparatus. And so let's start with the main problem for spleen, and that is excess yin. Remember that yin is material. So, and of course yang is immaterial. Yang is like energy, and yin is like material. So too much material is going to clog up your digestive apparatus, your spleen. And we often call that damp, but it goes under other names. Another name, of course, is food stagnation. I did a whole segment on food stagnation recently. You might want to check that out. So this dampness, this excess yin, it really bogs down the spleen and prevents it from creating high-quality qi in blood. That's the problem. And high-quality qi in blood slows down the wear and tear on your genetic material. In other words, it helps you live longer and healthier. It helps you be healthy and live longer because you're preserving prenatal Jing. What you're born with. So too much food, main cause of excess damp. There are also foods that moisten, the moistening foods, and if you have too much of those, it can also lead to damp. So that's sugar, sugariness, includes honey, things like that, and dairy. Dairy is moistening. I use a lot of dairy, but it is moistening, and also alcohol. Alcohol is also very moistening, and that can lead to other problems. But anyway, so what we're talking about here is garbage yin, garbage material, garbage that your body doesn't need if it wants to lead an active lifestyle. Now, all of this garbage yin is really there for winter, of course, to help you sleep, to help you calm down, be calm, heavy, sleeping, lazy, not motivated, kind of like coronavirus right now. But this is for winter. Well, we don't go through winters. So we have to work all the time. And so it becomes a problem. Excess yin becomes a problem. And of course that includes food stagnation, where excess yin includes impacted fecal matter in the intestines. So what's the spleen to do with that? Well, if it has a chance, it's going to go after it and process it fully, right? Use what it can and toss out what it can't in the feces, right? That's what it wants to do with all that impacted fecal matter in the large intestine, and maybe the small intestine too, and blood cholesterol. So all of that garbage, whatever garbage is in your blood, chemicals and cholesterol, fatty tissue, that gets taken care of by the body if it's given a chance. Okay, but that's excess yin, and that is a problem for spleen. That's a spleen pathology situation. So, also phlegm, too much phlegm. So a runny nose. I remember when I used to eat a lot of sugar, I'd get a runny nose. I also had wet skin problems. So all that wetness, that's damp, right? And that comes from excess food or excess sweets or dairy or alcohol, right? So, also phlegm nodules, what we call phlegm nodule. That's any kind of growth that you don't want. It includes tumors, fatty tissue, fatty deposits, phlegm nodules, any lump or bump that doesn't belong there, right? That's garbage in, and that's a spleen problem, right? Ultimately, it's a spleen problem. Well, it can also be a qi stagnation problem, so it doesn't have to be spleen pathology, but often it is, because we know that carrying excess body weight, which is what excess yin is statistically tied to tumors, okay, and other growth. So enlarged fat cells are food storage. That stores your excess yin. It's the best way to store excess yin, enlarged fat cells. But of course, that leads to problems too. Lots of problems, tied to lots of problems: heart disease, cancer, stroke, and all kinds of minor problems. So that is a spleen, definitely a spleen problem. And that, you can see somebody across the street if they have a damp spleen. If they're carrying extra weight, they've got a damp spleen. You don't need to even ask questions to ascertain that. You already know it. Right? And we're all carrying a little bit of extra yin, all right? Because there is an optimal lean zone for everybody. It's different for different people. Anything above that, a couple of percentage points and body fat percentage above that, it's excess yin, but it's not going to cause a medical problem. When you go far above that, that's a lot of excess yin. That's a lot of spleen damp. That's going to cause problems. So, and then of course that connection to food stagnation, constipation is often a problem with spleen. That's spleen pathology very often because there's too much food and it's backed up and it won't come out. It should come out every day. If it's not, you've got a problem. Probably a spleen problem. Now, anytime that the spleen is overloaded with excess yin, it's going to be unable to produce sufficient quantities of qi. Qi is that substance that moves everything. So movement becomes a problem, right? That's qi deficiency, spleen qi deficiency. Now, spleen supplies the majority of the qi in your body. You also get some from your kidney and from your lung. The majority of it is supplied by your digestive apparatus, your spleen. So when the spleen is deficient, well, then you got, your own set of problems. First, you got fatigue. And imagine also if you're spleen deficient and you're carrying extra yin, that yin weighs, right? It weighs on you. If you're carrying 50 pounds of excess garbage yin on you, that's going to tire you out, isn't it? Well, also, we see fatigue from overexertion. So fatigue, even exhaustion, is very typical of spleen qi deficiency, and especially when it's caused by excess yin, excess damp, flooding the spleen. And that means weak muscles. Muscles will tend to be weak, and this includes something called spleen qi not holding. This is prolapse. This is something falling. Because remember, spleen qi keeps everything up. It works against gravity. So when the spleen qi is weak, things fall down, right? So uterine prolapse, hiatal hernia is a prolapse, right? Anything that's falling down. Hemorrhoids, that's the veins in the anus are falling down. So, and it always will accompany extreme fatigue, okay? And that's usually a result of excess yin clogging the spleen because it can't do its job, right? So, and you also sometimes get some bleeding. Well, that's not the usual cause of bleeding, but it can cause bleeding because the blood vessels aren't strong enough to hold the blood in, and they're weak, and so the blood comes out. So that's spleen qi not holding. And when it gets really serious, when your damp gets really serious and it's been in there a long time, it starts picking up heat because stagnation creates heat. It's not moving, it's stagnant. They found that fat cells create their own warmth. Well, that's stagnant food creating heat. Of course, the purpose of that is to keep you warm in the winter. But it causes inflammation when you're not doing that, right? When we're running around all day, 365 days a year, we got inflammation. And then we get something called damp heat. Damp heat's really nasty. Think of a swamp with a lot of little critters. Because critters love damp heat. I mean, bacteria and protozoa and all kinds of nasty little guys love to breed in a damp heat situation. And it usually falls down into the lower body. So you get these damp heat conditions in the uterus, in the bladder, in the prostate, in the intestines. And none of that's good because the nastier, the more toxic things become, the more likely it is to turn cancerous or some other horrible problem, right? Because that's just the nature of damp heat, very nasty. So you don't want to fool around with that. Too much food, too much alcohol, the usual causes, right? Well, there we are. there you have spleen pathology, spleen P pathology. And, you know, this is part 2 in my book. Part 3, I'll give you some ideas what to do about it. I'll address that in a future segment. Or you can get my book, read about it, find out what to do about it. There you go. So until next time, thanks for joining me.